Anyway, I think we should get started. We have some material to cover today. So hi everyone, welcome to the Lunch and Learn with Elan. Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Nous sommes ravis de vous souhaiter la bienvenue ici en ligne. Je vais continuer en anglais. I am Riley Palanca. I'm the Membership Services Coordinator at the Quebec Writers Federation. As we begin, we give thanks and we remember. We give thanks for the land we live on and the waters that surround us. And we remember that Tiohtià:ke, Montreal, the land upon which QWF has made its home, has been a gathering place for millennia and still remains the unceded territory of the Kanien'kehá:ka, Mohawk people, and other First Nations. We recognize the stories and ongoing oral practices of the indigenous peoples of these lands, which inform our work as writers and literary artists. We remember that we, First Nations, Métis, Inuit, settlers, immigrants, and people brought here against their will, live in this country together. We must never forget our experiences and roles and those of our ancestors in colonization and subsequent injustices, and must strive to live alongside one another in peace, mutual respect, and as allies to steward the lands and waters that sustain us. We must walk gently and respectfully on these lands and commit to investing QWF resources and efforts towards this goal in friendship, esteem, and in the pursuit of justice and equality. So just a little bit of housekeeping. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded on QWF's YouTube channel in a few weeks. Please keep yourself muted unless you have been given the floor to talk. There will be a dedicated question and answer session at the end. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat anytime, but they won't be answered until the end of the session. So, allons-y. We are very, very excited to have one of our partner organizations here with us today to talk about the work they do. I'll just give a very brief overview about them because our speaker will definitely dive more into what they do. But the English Language Arts Network, or ELAN, is a not-for-profit organization that connects, supports, and creates opportunities for Quebec's English-speaking artists and arts communities. ELAN members are individuals and organizations from a wide array of artistic disciplines, cultural and geographic backgrounds, and linguistic and cultural communities. Together, this network reflects an evolving Quebec identity and celebrates the province's cultural, artistic, and social diversity. And our speaker today is the director, is ELAN's relatively new director of programming, Nick Maturo. Nick holds an MA in Communication Studies from McGill University and a BFA in Electroacoustic Studies from Concordia University. His ongoing research considers musician labor and the role of institutions within the rapidly evolving field of online music distribution. As an artist, Nick has been active in Montreal's experimental music community for over 10 years and has performed at the Suoni per il Popolo and New Tech festivals. So Nick, I shall give it to you.
Thank you so much, Riley. Yeah, thank you to Riley, John, and Lori for the invitation to be here. I really appreciate it. My name is Nick Maturo. I'm the Director of Programming at ELAN, as you now know, kind of meaning that I touch upon all different parts of the organization in day-to-day activities. So perhaps I'm especially well suited to give you this, this overview of what we do today. Yeah, really grateful for the invitation from QWF. QWF and ELAN are long-standing partners since the very beginning of ELAN, in fact. So it's always a pleasure to be able to collaborate on things that benefit our respective members. So I'm just going to jump into a quick outline of my talk today to start. Riley, I don't know if you're able to share. Yeah, you read my mind. And you can jump straight to the second slide. Perfect. So basically, I'm just going to start with a sort of high-level introduction to ELAN in the most general sense, where it came from, what its objectives are, and who and what that all encompasses. Then I'll tell you a little bit about our membership structure and the benefits that come with ELAN membership. Then I'm going to go deeper into the different forms of support and resources that we offer. That's probably of most relevance to people today. I'll talk a bit about the various projects that we run in parallel to our core services. Each one sort of a world unto itself, often with its own sort of particular theme or objective. And then lastly, I'll talk about one of the more unique facets of ELAN that differentiates us from some other arts organizations, which is our advocacy work and the work that we do sort of representing the interests of English-speaking artists with different sort of public institutions and decision makers. So then, as Riley mentioned at the end, we can open things up for any questions. We should have a decent amount of time for questions, so we can get into a good amount of detail there. Next slide, please, Riley. Okay, so the high-level description, the English Language Arts Network. We're a not-for-profit arts service organization. We connect, support, and create opportunities for Quebec's English-speaking artists and arts communities. So an arts service organization, much like QWF, in the sense that we don't produce or create, we offer support to those that do. And please note that when I use the word artist throughout my talk today, that encompasses writers, poets, anyone working within the literary arts as well, just for the sake of expediency. So ELAN was founded all the way back in 2004 at the Quebec Arts Summit, which took place in Montreal. So that event gathered more than 200 artists, government officials, and other representatives of the English-speaking arts scene at the time. And it was really one of the first times that any kind of English language arts community ever came together to sort of self-identify as such and to discuss how best to support the artists and cultural workers in Quebec's official language minority community. So the organization was then officially incorporated in 2005. So we are essentially in our 20th year this year. And since that time, ELAN has been made up of members who are either individuals or organizations. And they come from a variety of different artistic disciplines, different cultural backgrounds throughout the province of Quebec, and of course, different linguistic communities as well. So while we're based in Montreal, we work hard to ensure that our offerings are as accessible as possible to folks based in other regions of the province. Certainly, the silver lining of the pandemic, if there was one, was really allowing us to do more over Zoom to, I think, re-engage some of our regional members, which has been really, really wonderful. But we're also really committed to making sure that we're showing up in person, doing in-person events whenever possible, in partnership, ideally with local organizations as well. Wherever possible, we work with the French-speaking cultural community to champion the multifaceted benefits of culture, as well as the interests of artists and cultural workers, which I think is increasingly important in the context we now find ourselves in, that sort of cross-linguistic solidarity. And in all of this, we really strive to ensure that ELAN represents that, evolving Quebec identity that celebrates the province's wonderful cultural, artistic, and social diversity. We try to uphold that through a commitment to inclusive practices. You can see that represented in our official inclusion policy, which was developed by our board and then formally adopted in 2019. So that sort of informs all of what we do. And we also try to do that through having a more open approach to what constitutes an English speaker. So rather than relying on that kind of historical definition that only really scratches the surface of what the English-speaking community of Quebec actually looks and sounds like in 2025, trying to be as open as possible to anybody who feels an affinity with the English language arts community and sees a place for themselves within ELAN. Because we have that multidisciplinary approach, our members encompass all different artistic disciplines. We try to work as closely as possible with other arts service organizations that are the experts in their respective disciplines. So, for example, QWF, obviously, but also the Quebec Drama Federation and the Association of English Language Publishers of Quebec. So all three of those organizations actually have permanent seats on our board to ensure that they have input into ELAN's overall vision and to ensure that your particular artistic community is well represented within ELAN's sort of overall activities and strategic plan. Who works at ELAN? Well, generally speaking, it's artists like yourself. So whether people with active practices or simply a long-term background of having worked in the arts, it's really important that ELAN provides good working opportunities to artists in the community so that those artists can then bring their passion and experience directly into the work of supporting their peers. Overall, ELAN does a lot of work in different areas, which can sometimes make it challenging to succinctly summarize what we do, but I'll do my best to summarize for you today. And I think our Connect, Support, and Create motto sums it up fairly well. So we connect English-speaking artists with the resources that they need, as well as with each other, obviously. We support you in your professional journey through a wide range of services, which I'll tell you more about shortly. And we create opportunities for English-speaking artists in Quebec, often by making connections between the arts and other sectors like education, health, or community development, all with the goal of providing more ways for our artists to build a sustainable career in the province of Quebec. Next slide, please, Riley. So as I alluded to, we are a member-based organization. Our membership structure is pay what you can with a suggested fee of $30 for professional artists, but no one is turned away due to financial barrier. That goes for our workshops and events as well. Those are all typically either free or with a fee that can be reduced or waived according to need. If ever there's a financial need, it's always just a matter of reaching out to our membership services coordinator to discuss that, and we can find a way to accommodate you. Members can vote in our AGM, they can serve on our board and participate in our board committees. They can actually sit on the committees regardless of whether they're an active board member or not. So it gives you kind of a fun way to have something of a direct impact on different aspects of ELAN, like our membership services being one sort of key example. But what does becoming a member actually get you? I think one of the most crucial things that membership brings is promotional support. So if you're looking to boost your range and reach a wider audience, you can actually share things directly to our community calendar, which is wonderful. It's a great way to not only get your events and activities out, but also for people to take a really helpful, I think, bird's eye view of what's going on in the ELAN community at any given time. You can also submit things to be included in our ELAN newsletters and social media feeds. So that means, when we're talking about social media, that means reaching over 2,500 followers on Instagram and over 5,000 followers on Facebook. So you can also ensure your profile on our member directory represents you as a kind of landing page if you don't have your own website, which I think can be really helpful. And those profiles are all SEO optimized to help get as many eyes on your profile as possible. You can also, of course, receive personalized support from our membership services coordinator. So just a matter of reaching out to Antonia Neatby on our team with any questions about what ELAN resources are available to you. I'll be sharing her email address with you at the end of the session. And because we also compile resource lists for services offered elsewhere, you can also contact Antonia to inquire about getting connected with other organizations beyond ELAN if you yourself are not sure where to look and you're sort of running into roadblocks. We also offer member discounts through partnerships with local businesses and organizations. It might not seem like a lot, but of course, who would turn down the chance of a 10% discount at Drawn and Quarterly? I know I wouldn't. But probably most importantly, members receive priority access to resources and events, which are also typically open to the wider community as well. Next slide, please. So when I talk about resources and services, what do those actually look like? First of all, our resources are, with rare exceptions only, typically discipline agnostic, so meaning they're open to artists and cultural workers from all different artistic disciplines and practices, unless it's one of those rare things where we're doing something with a very specific focus. For example, we've offered some specialized grant writing sessions geared to filmmakers looking to access very sort of niche forms of funding for their work. But generally, these things are open to everyone, and they are geared more towards your professional skills to help you sustain a career as a working artist, rather than things that are more related to honing your artistic craft in your own particular discipline. So tangibly, these resources include workshops. So we'll offer a variety of different workshops throughout the year, facilitated by members of the community with important skills to share. Typically, these are a combination of in-person and Zoom. which one is offered via Zoom or in person will sort of depend on the format and how much interaction we want to sustain. But for the most part, if something is in person, there will typically be a hybrid option as well, for the purposes of maximizing accessibility. So examples of workshops from the last couple of years have included things like filing your taxes as an artist, which is always quite daunting. Federal and provincial grant writing, no surprise that those are often very popular, and marketing yourself as an artist. While there are some fixtures that you'll typically see annually due to how popular they are, we are always looking to evolve our workshop offerings to match up with what folks are asking for in that particular moment. So, for example, over the coming year, we'll be offering different workshops that unpack that thorny topic of artificial intelligence from a variety of different ethical and practical perspectives to hopefully provide a sort of well-rounded picture on the topic. Beyond that, thanks to funding from the Secrétariat aux relations avec les Québécois d'expression anglaise within the provincial government, and in partnership with the folks at Éducalois, we've also been able to offer a series of legal information workshops over the past 2 years that have sort of complemented our usual workshop offering. So we've covered topics such as housing law. Obviously, with the ongoing housing crisis, I think that's an increasingly important one to be providing resources to working artists there. We've also covered topics such as running your own not-for-profit, navigating new legislation such as Bill 96 and Law 25, and resources for dealing with harassment, workplace harassment in the arts and culture sector, to name just a few. We don't actually have the confirmation yet, but we are hopeful that there will be an opportunity to continue our work with Éducalois in the next year. So fingers crossed, and stay tuned for some more news on that soon, hopefully. Our programming also includes what we call our artist capacity building clinics. So these are heavily subsidized, affordable one-on-one sessions with a skilled professional, essentially that artists would otherwise have a hard time accessing. So these are often paired with a workshop on a similar theme as a way of giving you a grounding on a specific topic, and then allowing you to go into greater detail specific to your own context with that facilitator one-on-one. So examples from this year include working with a tax specialist, actually being able to talk about your own specific use cases, how you're sort of accounting for grant income, things like that. We've also had sessions working with an ELAN consultant who specializes in compliance with those new Quebec legislations, such as Bill 96 and Law 25. And we're going to have a series of clinics coming up about how to work effectively as a freelance artist and cultural worker as well. Next, in terms of our offerings, is our extremely popular free funding consultation and grant consultation service, otherwise known as Quebec Relations, to those of you who've accessed this, which is another service that is generously supported by the Secrétariat aux relations avec les Québécois d'expression anglaise. So this free program allows artists and organizations to request a consultation via Zoom with a member of our team. So you'll have an opportunity to discuss your funding needs, identify any relevant funding programs and their eligibility criteria that sort of best fit your needs, and then also a chance to discuss your experience, or maybe lack thereof if that's the case, which is fine, your experience in applying for grants. So we can get sort of a bit of context about where you're at in your sort of funding journey. So we really strive to provide personalized support in this area, meet you where you're at. If you need a little bit of extra time, we can make multiple consultation sessions with you to help you get where you need to be to actually feel, ready and empowered to apply. And then for anyone who does want to take that next step and apply for eligible Quebec funding, like for example, the Conseil des Arts et Lettres du Québec, CALQ, or Conseil des Arts de Montréal, we can go a step further and refer you to work with one of our experienced grant advisors, again, free of charge. So they'll provide personalized support as you write your grant to help you learn key grant writing skills and hopefully maximize your chances for success. But we always try to take a perspective where the service is geared primarily towards education, if we can put it that way. It's really about helping to equip you with the skills that hopefully benefit you in the short term, but also that can allow you to feel really good about applying for funding year on year, because I think that's increasingly just necessary for working artists to make that a part of your sort of regular practice. In complement to that, we also have a comprehensive searchable funding platform on our website. So this is a resource that gathers grant programs from different federal, provincial, and municipal funders all in one place. Makes it an excellent research tool to help you identify programs of interest based on just the most necessary information to be able to make a quick decision of what you want to explore in more detail. So you can see the address on your screen there. It's funding.quebec-elan.org. That will allow you to access the funding platform, but also request a consultation with a member of our team. And then last but not least, we place a big emphasis on networking with frequent opportunities to connect with others in our community at our schmoozer events. So these are relaxed events that give you a chance to meet other English-speaking artists, discuss your work, and see what kind of connections arise, maybe opportunities for collaboration, all with, of course, free food and drink provided. Within the schmoozers, we offer what are called minute markets. So through minute markets, you can sign up for a 2-minute pitch to the room. Basically, if you have an event or an activity coming up, you have a new work that is out, or maybe you're just looking to solicit people who are interested in collaborating, you can actually have the floor for 2 minutes and make a pitch to the room. Often for our schmoozer events, we'll host those in partnership with other organizations, like, for example, QWF, of course, or around a specific event or theme. So, for example, the Montreal Fringe Festival is a good one that we typically have an annual schmoozer event every summer. So it makes, these sort of thematic or partner schmoozers make for a great opportunity for different communities to come together and mingle. And sometimes those are the most surprising and interesting ones. While these primarily do take place in Montreal, we're increasingly working to ensure that we offer several schmoozers per year in other regions of the province. Again, trying our best to do those in partnership with local organizations wherever possible. And if you are curious about what attending a schmoozer is actually like, we do have one taking place this evening. So if you're interested in joining us from 5 to 7 at the Cinémathèque Québécoise, we'll be hosting one at the tail end of one of our grant writing workshops. I will not have the pleasure of being there because I'm actually out of town, but several other members of the ELAN team will be. So if you're interested, by all means, stop by, say hello, enjoy some free food and drink. You can find the event listing on the calendar on our website if you're interested in stopping by. Next slide, please, Riley. As if those resources and services were not enough, you can also take a deeper dive into the world of ELAN's various projects. So these are essentially standalone initiatives pertaining to a particular theme or maybe an objective. And they're often, although not always, sort of shorter term and non-recurring in nature, depending on the funding source. So sometimes it will be a sort of 2-year initiative that has a very specific sort of lifespan in mind. In other cases, we've been able to do things that are a little bit longer term, which have been really, really appreciated. So projects, I think, are one of the ways beyond our core services in which we really try to generate new opportunities for English-speaking artists in Quebec. The first project to be aware of is our Community Digital Arts Hub, or CDAH, which is located in the same building as our offices on 460 St. Catherine Street West, near Place des Arts. So that's in Suite 511. And the CDAH is essentially an affordable, accessible digital studio space that we've put together with the sort of additional support of other community organizations to help emerging artists and creatives have access to the tools, facilities, and skills that they need to thrive in digital media of all kinds, depending on the work that they want to do. It's funded through the support of the Government of Canada and the Secrétariat aux relations avec les Québécois d'expression anglaise, once again. You can rent space in the studio for things, like, for example, like recording a podcast, recording live music. You can do green screen filming, audio-visual editing on one of the computer workstations in the studio, or you can even just rent it as a sort of affordable rehearsal or event space. For anyone working in the studio, you're able to book a knowledgeable and friendly technician who can help teach you how to use the equipment that you're going there to use. and ensure that you're able to make the most of your booking and come out with something that you can really be proud of. You can also rent AV equipment to take out into the field for your work. If you're interested in knowing more, you can consult the rental rates and equipment list, for example. You can go to cdahstudio.ca for more information. Second is our newest project, which we're really, really excited about. It's the Trellis Microgrants Program, or TMG for short. ELAN is very much a world of acronyms, so you will hear most of these projects and other activities sort of summarized in neat little acronyms. So TMG, it's a brand new initiative supported by the Government of Canada to provide artists and organizations in the community with microgrants to do new and interesting work. So those microgrants can be up to $15,000 for artists and collectives. It can be up to $25,000 for organizations, essentially for projects that build bridges between Quebec's English-speaking minority and Francophone majority, and that really help to strengthen the English language community's sense of belonging in Quebec through arts and culture. So applications have actually closed for the current round of funding, but do keep an eye on the Trellis Microgrants website. That's trellismicrogrants.com for future application windows, because there will be more to come. In the meantime, we are really excited to share all of the great work being done in the community with this funding. That's really one of our commitments in carrying this program out on behalf of the Government of Canada, to not just get the funds into the community, but also to play that key role in disseminating the really cool and interesting work that is being done. So you'll be able to follow all of the TMG socials for great content in the near future. Again, your best bet is to go to the Trellis Microgrants website, and you'll find all of the necessary links to the social media platforms there. Next is the most long-running of our projects. It is the Artists Inspire Grants program, also known as AIG. AIG is a program, again, funded by the Government of Canada, through which we're able to provide $1,500 microgrants to teaching artists for workshops and cultural activities in English language primary and secondary schools throughout Quebec. So we recruit experienced teaching artists who have worked with youth and who are able to connect their artistic work, crucially with school curriculums, to help emphasize the positive effect that the arts can have on education. So it's really going a step beyond just sort of presenting artistic work in the classroom. It's really making the strong connection between arts and education. Schools can then select an artist from our directory and apply for their microgrant to pay the artist for their services. Artists are able to offer multi-session workshops through those microgrants. As of last year, they can also now offer an add-on, what we're calling a one-day event, through which they can present their artistic work to a class or maybe even the entire school, and sort of talk about their experience as a professional artist. So if you do that educational workshop, you're able to add that on, something that takes the form of perhaps a more conventional sort of performance or presentation. All of this, of course, not only helps to support the education process, it also really helps kids to develop a deeper interest in the arts from a young age, hopefully something that they're going to carry with them throughout their whole life, and hopefully also encounter role models who can help them to imagine what a career as a professional artist actually looks like. If you think you'd be a good fit for the AIG artist repertoire, you can head to artistinspire.ca for more information. The candidacy period has actually closed for this school year, but we will be doing our annual reopening in the summer ahead of the next academic year, if you're interested in submitting your candidacy. Next, and it's sort of complementary to AIG, is our mental health initiative, which is funded by the Community Health and Social Services Network, the Secrétariat à la Jeunesse, and the Fondation Lucie et André Chagnon. So through this project, we're able to offer paid professional development for teaching artists that work through AIG to really equip them with the skills to better work with youth experiencing mental health challenges that may emerge through artistic expression in the classroom. And this is something that I think really emerged out of the pandemic and the experiences and challenges that a lot of teaching artists were having, trying to work constructively with youth who were understandably having a challenging time due to the chaotic nature of the pandemic. So essentially, this project allows teaching artists to learn key skills, discuss their shared challenges, and ultimately feel more secure and confident that they'll be able to handle these situations as they arise in the classroom. We're also starting to add new resources year on year to help teaching artists better support neurodivergent youth in their work. That's something we hope to be able to develop further, fingers crossed, with continued funding this year. And then last but certainly not least, we have the What We Choose to Remember documentary, which is directed by ELAN's founding executive director, Guy Rogers. So throughout the film, Guy takes a look at the evolving identity of Quebec's English-speaking communities through waves of immigration to the project and to the province, and people's differing experiences of life in Quebec as an English speaker, depending on when they came here. He also, through the documentary, tries to break down some of the misconceptions about the community, partly from the Francophone majority, sometimes also within the English-speaking community, I would say. And all of this as a way of trying to generate a productive dialogue between the English-speaking and French-speaking populations. He has toured the film extensively throughout the province in the last few years, thanks to funding from the Secrétariat aux relations avec les Québécois d'expression anglaise. And he's currently actually working on a book that recounts the different conversations that he's had in the sort of Q&A sessions following the film screenings in the various English-speaking communities across Quebec that he's visited. And all of this sort of in the shadow of Bill 96, reigniting a lot of linguistic anxieties in those communities. I think it's I'm biased, of course, but I think it's a really great and thought-provoking film. It is free to watch online. It's on YouTube. But you can go to whatwechoosetoremember.ca to get the link, and of course to find out more about the work that's been done and the work to come. So that's just really a snapshot of the projects currently on offer, but I think it really shows off the range and diversity of the work that we try to do, and the belief that the arts can positively impact so many different aspects of Quebec society. We are always on the lookout for new opportunities to develop unique projects that can make a positive impact. And often, this is the best way for us to respond to sort of changing conditions within the arts and culture sector. So, of course, be sure to check in on us regularly for new initiatives as they arise. Next slide, please. And lastly, I will touch on our advocacy work. So this is actually something that sets us apart from a lot of the other arts organizations for whom advocacy work is maybe something they do as much as they're able, but is not explicitly part of their mandate. For us, it very much has been central to the work that we do since the beginning of ELAN. And that track record, I think, is also very important because based on that, it means we're often recognized as a key representative of the community, and we get invited to things where there's sometimes very minimal English language arts representation otherwise. That advocacy work can take many forms, but generally speaking, I mean being engaged in dialogue with key institutions or decision makers in government or other public bodies, essentially to make sure that the needs and perspectives of the English language arts community are actually being taken into account when important decisions are being made. So that can mean expressing concerns to arts funders about the way that their decisions might impact our community. So for instance, we've had one-on-one meetings with representatives of both CALC and Conseil des Arts de Montréal within the last couple of months as part of a sort of essentially an annual practice. And we've had multiple meetings with the Canada Council over the course of the last year. This is also actually one area where we tend to have the most opportunity to align ourselves with our colleagues in the Francophone sector. So for example, in 2023, I participated in a bilingual group of Quebec organizations and cultural workers working together to write an open letter to the CEO of Canada Council based on our concerns and what we had really been hearing directly from members at the time, and then coming together in this group to sort of compare notes and discuss how we can sort of make a collective response to this. This kind of work can also mean talking with members of Parliament or the National Assembly to emphasize the importance of supporting arts and culture and the many ways that that benefits society. It can also mean talking with people in key government institutions to help them better understand the unique position of the English language arts community within the Quebec arts and culture sector. So, for example, we've now taken part in 3 consecutive annual pre-budget consultations with Quebec's Minister of Finance. We also submitted a written brief and presented to the Commission for the Ville de Montréal's new cultural policy, which took place last fall. And we were actually able to get explicit acknowledgement of the English-speaking community added into the policy based on their revisions, which were announced last month. So we were very, very proud of that. And that kind of work can also look like our ongoing collaboration agreement with institutions like the National Film Board and Telefilm, to name just a couple. So through those arrangements, we're able to meet with them every year. Often those are for federal institutions who have obligations to English speakers in Quebec as part of the Official Languages Act. So they have a certain commitment to want to support our communities, but often need a little bit of sort of guidance of how best to do that. So that's kind of where we come in, and we meet on an annual basis to get a sense of what they're working on so we can communicate that information to our community, but also to discuss how we can actually come together to collaborate on things that, useful services and resources that will reach our community. So for example, we were able to invite folks from the National Film Board to participate in a film and television producers panel, which we offered through our CDAH studios a couple of years ago. And I think it was really great. It added a lot of interesting perspective having them being part of that conversation. And it also gave them an opportunity to meet people within our community and get a sense of who ELAN members and the English-speaking community actually are. When we're not actively engaging with those key decision makers, advocacy work can look like conducting or commissioning research, analyzing other research that we come across, all sort of with the goal of helping us make a more compelling and well-supported argument when we are actually engaging with those folks. Of course, the strength of our advocacy work ultimately lives and dies by how well connected we are to our members and to the wider community. So it's really important to us that we're continually hearing from people about their needs and challenges to make sure you're as well represented as possible, essentially. So we do that on an annual basis through a member survey ahead of our AGM, but we've also had other sort of different research and consultation initiatives over the last few years, often related to access to funding, people's experiences sort of during and after the pandemic. And we're looking to continue that wherever possible to make sure that we have as much, information directly from you as possible to inform how we envision our advocacy work. Next slide, please, Riley. And of course, all of the work that we do would be totally impossible without the generous support of our funders and partners. You've already heard me name drop them several times throughout this session, but I want to just acknowledge them all. So the Government of Canada, the Government of Quebec through its Secrétariat à la Jeunesse and Secrétariat aux Relations avec les Québécois d'expression anglaise, the Conseil des Arts et Lettres du Québec, the Canada Council for the Arts, Conseil des Arts de Montréal, CHSSN, that's the Community Health and Social Services Network, the Fondation Lucie et André Chagnon, our partners CBC and Éducalois. We are really, really grateful for their continued assistance and the fact that they recognize the importance of the English language arts community and our role in supporting it. So we really try to be give them the best bang for their buck as possible, I'll put it that way, and provide as much support as we can based on that. Next slide, please. And that brings us to the end here. We'll take some time for questions, but of course, I wanted to provide you with some opportunities of how to find us after this. There's, of course, our website, quebec-elan.org. You can contact our membership department if you have some more specific questions or interests. Contacting Antonia at membership@quebec-elan.org is usually your best first contact point. And then, of course, you can also follow us on social media at Facebook or on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on Instagram. Those are great ways to sort of keep up with what's going on, but also, as I mentioned earlier, what our members are up to whenever possible, trying to help share that and give you an accurate picture of what's going on in the ELAN orbit at any given time. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. We can open it up from here to any questions that you have. So please don't be shy. Go ahead. Or
Yeah.
perhaps that was such a deluge of information that you're stunned into submission.
All right, thank you so much. I think because we had the PowerPoint up, like the chat box wasn't very easily seen for people. So I think, take a minute, take your water, thank you for that very beautiful presentation. And let's give people like a couple of minutes, to formulate questions. Maybe some of them are typing them. But if you have anything you'd like to perhaps just ask in person, you can just raise your virtual hand and you can ask Nick a question directly as well.
I'll mention that we've also recently redone the ELAN team page on our website to make it easier to find out who to contact for what. I'll put it that way, to make it easier for folks to find the correct point of contact. So by all means, check that out. If maybe membership is not your immediate interest, but you'd like to know more about other aspects of ELAN.
I have a question from Liz McLaughlin. Do you have to be a Canadian citizen to participate in ELAN?
No, absolutely not. It's really anybody who feels an affinity with the community, and very often that will be, for example, students who are newcomers to Quebec, who at the very least intend to sort of live and practice here in the short term. Very often people who want to stay and build a life and a career here. And that whether I will say this, whether you are or are not a Canadian citizen or permanent resident may affect what kind of suggestions we can offer you in terms of the best way of supporting your work. So I'm thinking in particular about our funding assistance services. Of course, if you're not a permanent resident or Canadian citizen, you're typically not eligible for the sort of most notable forms of arts funding. But we've had those conversations often enough that we can sort of help provide, I think, some useful tips in terms of how you can position yourself to be best able to access those forms of funding if and when you do get permanent residency and you're interested in pursuing that. So certainly we can have a conversation based on where you're at as far as citizenship or residency.
Thank you. Anyone have other questions for Nick?
And I neglected to mention it, but you can also sign up for our newsletter on the website. And often that's a really great way of keeping abreast of what's going on in that given month. It also has really handy things like a summary of job postings in the community, which we collect and put on our job board, calls for submissions and other things like that. So if you're looking for different kinds of professional opportunities to support your work, that can be a great way of keeping track of what's currently out there.
All right, let's give a last call for questions. Anyone had anything else, or else we can end a bit early? And of course, if you think of a question after this presentation, you can always get in touch with them. The last slide, I put the text of it into the chat. As Nick said, if you have any questions, you can get in touch with their membership department. Their email is in the chat. But yeah, any last call? Or we're gonna call it now?
Like so.
I think so.
I think it's a testament to your clarity of presentation, Nick.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
Very good presentation, Nick. Thank you so much. And it's a lovely presentation. I've known about ELAN for several years now, but it's always a pleasure to get a deep dive into all the things that you actually do. So thank you, Nick. It was indeed a very lovely, very detailed, and a very clear presentation. I also want to thank everyone here who came and listened to Nick's presentation and support in our Lunch and Learn. Our next Lunch and Learn will actually be in a month. It will be on April 29th. And it's actually with us. So it will be, if you want to learn more about what QWF does, So again, April 29th, it's at noon. I believe the sign up is, I don't know if we've already opened the sign up or the registration for that, but if not, it should be up soon.
Yeah, the sign up is not up yet, but we will open it soon. I just need to create the Zoom registration form.
Thank you, John.
But that'll be up shortly and you'll be able to register for that when it's up.
So yeah, and I guess finally, like, ELAN and QWF are never in competition. So if you are a member of QWF, you should also consider joining ELAN if I know most of you probably will be the opposite thing, but if for ELAN members who are also writers would also benefit a lot from being a part of QWF. So that's it. And I see here that Michelle Bryan said that she will be joining. So you're gonna have at least one new member there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle.
So I think we should call it there. Thank you all, everyone. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, everyone, and hope
Thank
you all
you.
enjoyed the rest of your day. Bye
Thanks,
bye.
everyone.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
everyone for being here. And thank you, QWF team, for hosting.
Of course.
Very much appreciated.
Of course, it's
Bye-bye.
always a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.